Hello everyone, welcome to the deep dive. I know it doesn't look like the deep dive, but these are our new digs. I'm joined by Josh Williams. He's not new, but he's got a fresh new haircut. So thanks for joining us as always, Josh. Something a little bit different this week. We're going to do the plus show and we're going to look a little bit back at the last game, but also talk about whether Liverpool need a new pass master and stuff. So you can get onto that if you want. As you know, there is a brand new code running at the moment. It is top, and yearly captain subscriptions will get 50% off. It's only $69.99 a year, so it's around £35 for a full year of deep dive and more. So yeah, you're more than welcome to get involved with that one. But we are here to talk contract situation, and just like we always try and do on the deep dive, Josh, I think it's really important to strip the emotion out of this conversation, and maybe just look at some of the numbers, the statistics that Trent's posted over the last few years. Forget the fact that he came through maybe at the club. Forget the fact that he's won stuff at the football club, and maybe forget the fact that he's a Scouser and a Liverpool supporter as well. Because I don't think until you can do all of that, you can analytically look at the future for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Do you think it's fair?
Yeah, well, that's the approach that FSG would encourage. That's what they did in Boston, with the Red Sox. It was all about removing all of those biases from any kind of decision-making process and making decisions that are cold, but above all else efficient. And I think if there's one thing Liverpool have been over the course of maybe the past 8 years or so, it is efficient. Liverpool have made really good decisions in the market, and there's not many that we've got wrong, and a lot of it stems from that cold, unemotional approach to decision making, and it's hard to do with one of your own, isn't it? But
it is very difficult to do because you remember the goals, the assists and the trophies, and the feelings that he was able to give us. But I think it's a good starting point. So I wanted to start off by sort of framing this around, listen, I think rumours are Liverpool had offered £325,000 a week. That's an extortionate amount of money, but it's a rumour as well. It might not be true. So it sort of started there, and I was thinking, well, actually, who are the top earning players in the world and how much are they on? So got a nice graphic for everybody now, and we'll bring that one up. And we'll start off with the highest paid players in the world. Now, I was shocked, genuinely shocked, to find out that Frankie de Jong is the highest paid player. This data was from Planet Football, on £606,000 a week.
Wow.
Mate.
Sums up Barcelona. Really.
He's tidy, but...
Yeah, he is. He's a very great footballer, but that's incredible. He's not impacting results or performances or anything as much as some of the other lads on that list.
No. And then Lewandowski again, another one from Barcelona, 539. Kylian Mbappe. I think there might be a place for an asterisk here for people who didn't have a transfer fee attached to them.
Yeah.
But Mbappe's there, Harry Kane's there, De Bruyne, Haaland. David Alaba's the only defender on this list, and he might come with one of those asterisks because they didn't pay a fee for him.
Yeah.
So I think, you can probably pay more for somebody when you're not paying a fee for them as well. Vlahovic, Casemiro at Manchester United, insane. And then Mo Salah rounding out the top 10. Or actually, I suppose Casemiro and Mo are joint ninth there on $350,000 a week. So I wanted to discuss first of all this idea of the transfer fee and the wages, because I can almost imagine people in the comments already going, but Liverpool don't have to pay a transfer fee for Trent. Agreed. Totally get that. But if it's rumoured of 350, it's not far away. You're talking a top 10 player in the world. How would that actually make you feel?
It's weird, isn't it? I think there's been points over the past couple of months, to be fair, where I've thought to myself, maybe Trent is Liverpool's best player. I don't feel like that now, because Salah's in a hot run of form, Van Dijk looks as good as ever, and Trent, I think, has been a little bit quiet lately. And I think the whole idea of classing him as a defender, I suppose he technically is, and I think he is more than ever this season, funnily enough, but he is, in my opinion, generational though. I do think he is special in what he does. So I think it's it conflicts with maybe a historic view of the game, in that you shouldn't be paying a defender that much because no defender's worth that much. But then at the same time, there's that modern perspective of, well, number one, is he a defender? And number two, even if he is, he's still doing all kinds for you when it comes to getting over the line and winning games. So, difficult one to view that one. What about you?
Well, I'm going to come to that, but first I'm going to go to the Premier League top earners.
Right.
So, in terms of Premier League, Kevin De Bruyne, Haaland, 2 from Manchester City, Mo Salah for Liverpool, then a glut of Man United players all being paid well too much. Casemiro, Marcus Rashford, then Grealish at City, Fernandes at United, Silva at City, and 2 Arsenal players, Kai Havertz and the forward that they should have signed, Gabriel Jesus, which I had a little bit of a go at them for yesterday on the podcast because everyone keeps telling them he needed a forward, but they bought a forward, they just don't happen to play him up front anymore. So that's their fault, nobody else's, the big whingers. So not a defender in the list there for the top 10 players in the Premier League. All forwards, all midfielders, and a random DM in Casemiro, which is backwards as shit. But anyway, we digress. So I suppose, again, there's a trend around football maybe that defenders aren't worth that, but let's explore the idea that you've just said, which is he's more than a defender. So should we take a look at some of his stats and showcase maybe just how much more than a defender this lad has been over the course of the last, 8-9 years are we up to now, maybe? So I'm going over to FB Ref this time. And you can see in 18-19, 12 assists and a goal. 19-20, 13 assists, 4 goals. 2021, 7 assists, 2 goals. 12 assists, 2 goals. 9 assists, 2 goals. 4 assists, 3 goals. This season, 1 assist, no goals. And if we turn that into the per 90 stats, the peak was actually 19-20 at 0.48 per 90 goals and assists. Then it was 0.27, then 0.44, 0.34, 0.29, and this season 0.1. So I take the point as fact that you've just said there, which is he's more than a defender. But you also preface that with, is he this season?
Yeah, well, this is an important point, actually. Like, I wrote about this recently. And I'd be interested to know if it's intentional what's happening, because my interpretation of the numbers this season is he looks a little bit more ordinary in the numbers. Still not ordinary, but just more ordinary than the quarterback that we've seen the past couple of seasons, where he's creating chances, progressing the play, scoring the odd goal, switches of play, just everything really. This season it's a little bit more
right back.
Yeah, a little bit more right back. Yeah, he's still doing bits here and there. Don't get me wrong, and he probably should have 1 or 2 assists more than he has. I think the finishing has been a bit of a problem for him from his teammates. But it looks to me like this season Slot has used him like he's an ordinary right back to a certain level. Obviously he's inverted at times, but is that a conscious effort to make that spot ordinary with a view to losing him and replacing him with an ordinary replacement, if you get what I mean? Because replacing this player would be easier than replacing the 1920 version of him, where, what was it?
0.48 goals and assists per 90 in the Premier League.
Well, to score 4 goals as a fullback is something doing in itself, and on top of that he gets 13 assists. That's insane. For a fullback, that is insane. And that's why I'm talking about modern perspective on the game. If Szoboszlai posted them numbers this season, would you? I don't want to say you'd be happy, but you wouldn't be far up. You wouldn't be far away, would you? I mean, you'd probably say score more goals, but 13 assists in the Premier League, that's creative number 10 numbers, if that, So it's a difficult one to judge, but this season, numbers wise, they have taken a little bit of a drop, and I would wonder, I think some of the playing styles in that, some of the controlling elements of Slot, keeping the ball a little bit more on things and not forcing the issue maybe, but is it a conscious attempt to make him a bit more normal? Interesting. And
that is, and listen, I think for the avoidance of doubt, we should look at maybe some of the things that aren't so output dependent. Goals and assists, as we know, are very output dependent. You can put the ball in the best place in the world, but if the striker misses, you don't get your assist. Yeah. So let's take a little look at his key passes per 90. And I've actually done a stat head here, Josh. in terms of key passes per 90, minimum 4 games played, he's second in Liverpool's side. So Mo Salah is 2.1 key passes per 90, Trent 1.8, Cody's 1.7, Diaz and Szoboszlai 1.6, rounding out the top 5. In terms of his shot creating actions, he's third. So Diaz 4.6 per 90, Mo 4.3 per 90, Trent 3.3 per 90. So again, really high up.
Yeah.
In terms of what he's doing in terms of shot creating actions and key passes per 90. Let's have a look at the final third. Passes into the final third. It's Ryan, it's Van Dijk, it's Costas, which is interesting. And then it's Trent Alexander-Arnold. So again, this showcases the other side of it, doesn't he? That he's still performing at an elite level in the team in terms of getting the ball into good places. Yeah,
it's not... these aren't bad numbers by any stretch of the imagination. It's more relative to what we know he's capable of doing. I think there was a point around this time last year, I felt, where we were a bit reliant on Trent. I think when we were in the game and maybe we were dominating the ball and we couldn't really break through and things like that, there was an element of just give Trent the ball. I felt a little bit like there was towards the end of Coutinho's time at Liverpool. And becoming increasingly reliant on one player like that is not particularly healthy. And I think this season there's been a bit of a shared workload regarding defending and attacking, to the extent where Trent is maybe a bit more of a team player now than he was under Klopp and Linders. But under Klopp and Linders, maybe because he was less of a team player, he stood out a bit more as more of an individual, more of a superstar. So there's a few different ways of looking at that, isn't he?
Absolutely. So I'm going to move on to a couple of other stats then. I thought this was an interesting one in terms of his progressive passing distance. It's down quite considerably per 90. So last season was 520. Season before, 502. Right now, 332. I'm not sure if that's metres or yards, to be honest. I think it's yards. It is, yeah. Total distance in yards that completed passes have travelled towards the opponent's goal. So down just shy of 200 yards a game in progressive passes.
Yeah.
Which is, it's big, isn't it? But it does... It does say that his game is... either he's changed or he's being asked to change. Either way, it's changed.
Yeah, well, I think that'll be because he's playing fewer in total. He's playing fewer progressive passes in total anyway. Like, I think he's down to about 5 and a bit this season, whereas last season I think he was up at 8. Generally across the Liverpool career, I think he's been around 7, 8. So this term he's playing those like line breaking passes a little bit less maybe. Are you going to look at the switches of play out of interest?
We can do if you'd like.
Have a quick look at the switches of play. That they are interesting as well. Okay. Because throughout his Liverpool career... There
we go, I've got him on the screen now.
Go on.
So it's at 0.83 per 90 right now. It was 1.34, 1.82, 2.18 in the previous 3 seasons. So down significantly.
Yeah, so if you look at his Liverpool career as a whole, it's 1.78 that he averages for his Liverpool career as a whole. Currently averaging 0.8, which is less than half. So... Is that a managerial thing? As Slot said to him, stop switching the play. Is the element of that in there? Is the more of an emphasis on playing short passes? Whatever it is, the Trent that we're accustomed to seeing is almost being put on the leash, potentially.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a fair shout. Either his game's changed or he's being asked to change. It's changed, though.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we don't know the right answer to that, but my guess would be it's the manager.
Yeah,
because I don't think Trent will change.
No, I think it's a managerial thing, but it's interesting now, despite it being intentional and it not necessarily being Trent's fault. This isn't us suggesting for any second that Trent is over the hill or something like that. But it is interesting from a managerial perspective how Slot can impact those numbers, and those numbers potentially have some sort of impact on a contract decision because he no longer looks like as much of a unicorn. Still does, but not as much of an outlier to the certain level, which previously, because he is that outlier, maybe you can say, yeah, you're deserving of £500,000 a week, mate. With those numbers, just a little bit less so.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's fair to look at his defensive stuff as well. Yeah. So if we go down to the defensive action section, and you look at his tackles this season, almost double last season. He was putting in 1.63 tackles per 90 last season. He's at 3.23. he's more than doubled his win rate as well, because he was winning 1.09, which was the best since 2018-19. But now he's winning 2.5 tackles per 90. And this comes back to that thing that Slot said to him about the angles and changing your body position 8 degrees and all that type of stuff, doesn't it? Yeah. But it looks like that's a defensive improvement there from Trent.
Well,
in the final third as well, in the defensive third as well.
Yeah, well, if you go on the dribblers challenged side, which is on the same section, 32 players have attempted to dribble past him in the Premier League this season, and he's tackled 20 of them. So that gives him a success rate of about just under 63%.
62.5, is that right?
Yeah, but if you look at the previous season, it's down at half as good when it comes to winning his duels, essentially winning his 1v1 battles. Season before, not so bad, but generally he's drifted under 50% in terms of tackling the dribblers that are having to go at him, whereas this season, that's been a bit of a boost, which again coincides with this maybe picture that we're trying to paint, that he's just a bit more of a standard fullback than previous years, while still being obviously quite good. You know what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think you could say the same story if we look at the possession box as well, because if you look at his touches in the attacking third, from a high of 34.2 per 90 in 2021, we're down now, and it's gone down every year. It's down to 21 touches in the attacking third. So again, it's painting the picture. There's a big difference from last season again, but being asked to do different things.
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe he's getting into the final third a little bit less there. Maybe he's being a bit more of a deep lying presence, looking into the block and stuff, which is still fine. You can still be you can still be a real positive to your team doing that. He's got the vision, obviously, to cause problems for the block from deeper areas. But it is interesting how his game's developing a little bit like.
And I think that the thing that makes me sort of want to move on now from the stats, we've painted the picture. It looks like a slightly different right back role for Trent this season. You know, we've spoken about the amount of money that people are being paid around the world and in the Premier League. If the rumoured figure of 325, 350 is based on this season's stats, is it worth honestly paying Trent Alexander-Arnold, leaving all the biases aside, striker money?
That's a good question, that. I'm going to find that one hard to answer, really am. Like, if you look
Is it because you don't want to say the answer out loud?
No, it's not necessarily that. It's because it feels like there's too much context around. Like, Liverpool, despite being data-driven, would never really make a decision like that. That's purely fueled by numbers without considering anything else. Do you know what I mean? The idea is it's an evidence-based approach to making decisions. So the idea is you factor in everything. I suppose what we're doing here is what the nerds would be doing in the bunker. You know, where you are literally, you've completely.
Their recommendation is based on the numbers. Yeah. No.
Exactly.
And somebody else, Michael Edwards, takes everything, or Richard Hughes takes everything into consideration.
Yeah, Richard Hughes wouldn't be doing this. This would be more Will Spearman who would be doing this, or Ian Graham previously. But
okay, then, based on the numbers that we've seen today, you're one of the nerds at Liverpool. Would you be recommending paying him $350,000 a week
based on this season?
Based on this season's numbers,
no.
And the trend from those numbers?
No, probably not. Not so much trend, but based on this season in isolation, probably not. That's not to say he doesn't deserve it. That's just to say, to think of how much Mo Salah impacts your points at the end of the season. Think of how much he impacts your goal difference throughout the course of a campaign. Is this version of Trent this season going to have the same level of impact on Liverpool's points total? Because what you're saying there is, are you giving Trent Salah's wage? And I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. That's a tricky one, that. But I think
the evidence there would be quite an easy answer of no. But I think when you include your biases back in, then it becomes a very, very difficult question to answer.
I just think other things that you have to factor in, like the fact he's 26, so he's absolute prime. on top of that, despite those numbers there, he is the best. He's probably the best right back in the world. There's a reason Real Madrid are going for him. Real Madrid go for the very, very best. Trent probably is that. So you have to factor in as well. Like if you don't pay him that, bear in mind you're not paying a transfer fee. So if you lose him, any money that could have went on his wage has to go on a transfer fee for the replacements.
I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because based on, I think I did the maths on 325k, but I'll just double check dead quick. It was around about 18.2 million a year. I'll do 350 just in case, times 52. Right, 350 grand a week is 18.2 million pounds a year. Let's say you bought a player for 50 million, that would be 10 million for a 5-year contract, which leaves you 8.2 million on wages, which would leave you 157,000 pounds a week to pay them with.
Right.
So that's the ballpark. I thought you'd go there. That's the ballpark that you're looking at. You're looking at a £50 million player plus a salary of 160 grand a week for what you would have to pay Trent.
Well, that's not that bad.
And you might have one in the door already.
Yeah. That's not that bad, to be fair. Like, if you think of someone like, complete name from the sky, and he's a wing-back, but say Frimpong from Leverkusen. Offensive, offers...
Didn't offer fuck all against us.
Offers a lot of threat. Offers a lot of threat. Probably would cost about 50 million. And wages, I think he'll probably get him on a bit of a lower wage than that. So that is insistent. But I think the obvious, I think you would still probably rather Trent.
Oh yeah,
I would rather Trent.
I would. Yeah. By the way, I know I'm playing bad cop through this entire video.
Devil's advocate, yeah.
But you've got to, haven't you, if you want to try and do it down the line.
Yeah. The crucial thing to remember is he is already in the door. That is huge when it comes to this sort of thing. Just keep the lad who you've already got.
But there is a part of me, by the way, that does. I am concerned because I know how tight Liverpool's budget is. And you can take that whichever way you want. It probably means the owners are tight. All right. I do wonder, and I always try and understand what Liverpool are thinking. And it leads me, and it's not a thought that I particularly like, but I've got a lad on 60 grand a week here in Conor Bradley, who's younger, who's faster, might be a better defender, but is nowhere near the complete right back that Trent is. I just wonder whether they're thinking, I'll take a risk.
Well, that's the thing. It is all about making your money run as far for you as you can. Like, an example I keep using recently is Aït-Nouri, right? Aït-Nouri's at Wolves, but he's on 10 grand a week at Wolves. I'd take 10 grand a week, don't get me wrong, but that's not a lot when you think about Andy Robertson currently being on. I think Andy Robertson's on about 150 grand a week. Andy Robertson is not 15 times better than Aït-Nouri. And
is Trent 6 or 7 times better than Conor Bradley?
Possibly. Possibly. On the ball, it's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe not. 6 or 7 might be a stretch, but 3 or 4, 5, probably, yeah. But I think one thing that's important to say with this, I actually don't know if with Trent this sort of thing matters that much, because I don't know if I think if he left, I don't think it'd be money. Do you think it would be?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I don't think it'd be the money.
You just think it'd be, I want to win all of the trophies?
No, I think it'd be the change in lifestyle, the change in challenge. I think the fact that his best mate lives over there now and plays for the same team is a big deal. But crucially, like he's won everything at Liverpool. He has won everything. The fellow who won everything with, and Jurgen Klopp has now left. Even if we keep Salah and Van Dijk, Trent will know that they're not going to be there for as long as he is. They're probably not going to sign a 5-year contract, which is probably what Liverpool wants Trent to sign. But yeah, I think crucially the change in lifestyle and the change in challenge, I think would motivate him more than the money, because he's going to earn a lot at Liverpool. Having said that, his agent's his brother, to be fair to him, but a signing on fee for his brother who's obviously an up-and-coming agent with his own business, I assume. That would transform his business, getting that agent fee from Real Madrid versus whatever he gets from Liverpool. There's loads of stuff that comes into it, but I think Liverpool would want to keep this player and would want to pay this player what he deserves as well. I just worry if Real Madrid have turned his head already, which would be our fault.
I think something I wanted to say at the beginning, and I just didn't read it, so I will just read it for the avoidance of doubt here. I think the first thing to say is that clearly Liverpool would like to keep Trent Alexander-Arnold, but would they like to keep Trent for the money that is being talked about is what I wanted to lead off with. And this is on 180 grand a week now. You're talking doubling his money.
Yeah.
Is that a bitter pill to swallow for somebody that you've invested so much time and so much money in and equally got so much out of?
Bitter pill as in like paying him so much?
As in double? Like a pay rise?
Yeah.
Sound? Double?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think Salah was on about 220 and then Salah jumped to 350, didn't he?
Did he jump direct to 350 or did he have like a year or two at 300?
I think he went
just direct to 350.
But the difference with that though, again, Salah has a massive impact on your points total, and Salah did that I think maybe at the age of 29 or so, was he? Something like that. Whereas if Trent does this now, this might not be Trent's last contract at Liverpool, so he could go up again. And that jump that Salah made, again, his performances suggest he's worth that increase. And the likes of De Bruyne and all that were on it in the same league. Salah's worth as much as they are, performance-wise. So again, Salah's worth that. Trent, still worth an awful lot, but again, is he worth double what he's currently on? It is a question. But I do think Liverpool would offer him in the region of what he wants. I just wonder if Real Madrid have just blown us out the park by offering a number that starts with a 4. Like, what was Alaba on, out of interest?
369, I think it was. If we can get the graphic back up, that will probably help us. 364.
See, if you can pay David Alaba 364, you can pay Trent a number that starts with a 4. What's Mbappe on there?
404.
See, Mbappe got
505. Jeez, it was Kane on 404.
See, yeah, I think Real Madrid would offer more than Liverpool. So looking at that there, but you'd like to think that money wouldn't motivate him. But I do think money wouldn't motivate him. I think if he left, it'd be for other reasons, coupled in with the fact he'd be earning more money.
Yeah. Okay, right. Can we throw the biases back into this now?
Yeah.
Would you offer him what he wanted?
What's what he wanted?
Let's say 350.
If it meant him actually staying at the club, question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. I don't think with this evidence-based approach where you're being super efficient and things like that, I don't think you can always be... It goes back to that beggars can't be choosers thing, and Liverpool have got themselves into this position by losing Edwards, then losing Ward, then losing Klopp. Throughout that period, Schmadtke's helping out. No one's really taking care of contracts, and it gets to a point where Trent has 6 months left on his deal and no one's doing anything about it. So I think given that, I've said this with Salah as well, I think with Salah, for example, there's a certain element of you almost have to extend his contract because you haven't got a contingency plan in place. You haven't sorted his replacement before the time comes that he leaves. With Trent, it feels a bit similar. If I could, I mean, maybe by paying him 350, you're overpaying him by 50 to 80 grand a week. Maybe there's an overpayment there of that, but I think Liverpool have put themselves in that position where you have to just absorb that hit, because he's worth it. He is worth keeping without question. Is he worth 80 grand less than that a week? Yes, but you're not in a position to choose. So
no. I think the other thing that we should have spoken about actually that factors into this is I think it's become quite evident, and we've done loads of shows on this, that Liverpool are making a conscious effort to be much harder to beat. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is the final form of what Slots Liverpool is going to be. It could well be phase 1, make Liverpool hard to beat. And for phase one, Trent needs to be more of a right back, which impacts all of the numbers that we've just discussed.
Yeah.
But if the plan is phase one, phase two, maybe next season or whatever, open it up. Because you know you can defend and you've got that. But then equally, we're going to add a few bells and whistles. Maybe Trent does start to become more attacking. In which case, if that's the plan, that Trent at some point in the future is going to be more attacking, there ain't no better player in the world. But if this is the plan and it's not phase one and it is just the defensive right back, are you not... Okay, sounds bad saying it like this, but are you not better just having a defender who's better? If this is the plan. Because Trent's the best right back in the world, but he's not the best right back in the world, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? He's not the best defensive right back in the world. There are better defensive right backs.
Well, I don't think we necessarily need a defensive right back, because that's Joe Gomez in a way. I think we still need a player who can play. I think you still need some form of technician in there if you're playing without a slot. But you're probably right in the sense that if he's playing the way he's playing lately, if he's got to play like that moving forward for good, maybe you take a little bit of a hit on some of his offensive perks to be a little bit better against the ball potentially, but I think on top of what you've just said, by the way, I think if Slot was to know he's staying and he's going to be here for the next 5 years, then maybe you take the leash off and maybe you do let him assume more of the responsibility of the team. Because if you do that now, knowing he's going, you can't
replace him.
You're going to absorb a bigger hit in the summer when he leaves, because you're going to be like, right, well, we need someone to pick up the slack here. Whereas now, he's not picking up that much slack when it comes to Liverpool's offensive.
Are you saying Slot's almost maybe future-proof this side?
I wonder that, yeah. That was one of my conclusions in the piece I did recently on my Substack. I just wonder if the way he's being used, like he's relatively ordinary, is that to help Hughes replace him? Because if Hughes has to replace this Trent that we've seen the past couple of weeks, it wouldn't be that hard. But replacing the Trent that goes and scores 4 times and gets 13 assists and is drifting into midfield and
it's impossible.
Switching up, you can't replace that. So it would make sense in that sense for Slot to play him the way he's been playing him lately. He's still benefiting the team, still playing well, but you're not leaning on him.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a couple of super chats here, so apologies. I haven't had the chat open, but Aaron let me know. Defino said, I also think the change in progressive passes might be due to our midfield now having more success at driving the ball forward versus Trent having to hit a pass to get the ball out the final third. Yeah, really interesting point.
Yeah,
Thank you for that, Defino. And Tom Goldsworth, he said, look at the floor compared to Stevie and Cara. Now, I don't know what that was in relation to, whether that was in a conversation or whatever. But
look at the floor.
The floor. So I suppose it's base level.
Right.
And I don't know whether... Actually, I don't know whether... Is Trent's floor lower than Carragher's and Gerrard's? Probably. Is his ceiling... I don't think you can get a higher ceiling than Gerrard, but certainly higher than Carragher's.
I'd say his floor is higher than Carragher's, like, in terms of his points total, like what he's offering for your points wise and that. Is that what you mean?
I didn't mean it like that, but I'd agree with you if you meant it like that. Yeah,
that was how I would think about it.
I think Carragher's was more consistent as a footballer, though.
Oh yeah, consistent, like 6.5, 7 out of 10, consistently. Whereas Trent throws in the odd 4 or something.
In which case, that's the floor.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, so many different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult, and these are the questions that Liverpool have to find themselves the answers to quickly, because again, you've got Conor Bradley there who can step in and do a job. Can he step in and do the job of Trent from 3 to 4 years ago? No. I think no way, no chance. Can he do the job of this season, Trent? Probably. But what's the future?
Yeah.
And that's all down to Slot and Hughes and all of the analytics department. It is so difficult. By the way, we will be doing this show for Van Dijk and for Mo Salah next week in the international break. But we'll go over to Redmen Plus. And what is it you wanted to talk about on Plus?
So, recently we faced Aston Villa. And we won the game, but scored 2 goals from their set pieces, which is quite mad. And the only game we've lost was against Forest, when Forest set up with a similar block to Aston Villa. And I think it's an interesting one surrounding the Zubimendi chat, the Tchouaméni chat, what Liverpool might do in January chat. In those games where you are coming up against the block, do you need a bit more of a conductor as your 6? Because I don't think Gravenberch's a conductor. I think he's a brilliant player. But if you think of his biggest strength, if you think of his highlight reel, it's receiving the ball on the half turn, not necessarily playing the pass to the player who receives the ball on the half turn, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So just thinking about whether Liverpool still need that player who can break down a block as a conductive type, sitting probably close to Van Dijk and Canate and picking holes and all that and manipulating the opposition. I don't think we have that player.
Okay, well, we're going to do that on Plus in around about 2 minutes because we're playing paddle at 4 and it's 3:15. So
is it really?
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the deep dive. No conclusions here today, but did you expect anything less? Ta-ra.